as we have been going through this story of a young man by the name of Joseph, who has gone through some extraordinary things in his life. What we don't have in the scripture is a detailed look at his emotional state and how he's doing in his spiritual heart and soul. But we know that these things have to be happening because he's human. And all of us who are human, we evolve as we experience life and we experience the circumstances of our lives. This is a time of growing and maturing for a young man who has a destiny upon his life. And we know this because it is given to us in the early scriptures where it says that he had these dreams. And he had dreams that indicated that he would be called to greatness. And he would be called to do that which would be to the benefit of humanity. And literally the world as it was in those days. So now, we find him down in Egypt. He's been sold by his brothers, been betrayed. And now he's gone into the house of a man named Potiphar as a servant, as an indentured servant. Literally, he has become a person who is in bondage. Now, there's a lot to be interjected here concerning this whole thing of people being sold and people being bought and then being forced to serve in a household such as he was. And we don't know a lot about Potiphar other than that he was a captain of the guard for Pharaoh. But as you kind of get a glimpse of this, you find that it's more than just a house. I'd say it was more like an estate. Because it says in the scripture that Joseph eventually became responsible for everything in the house and in the fields. A lot of responsibility put in the hands of a very young man by a man who, let's just assume that he feels like he has more important things to do as he serves there in the house of Pharaoh. So here comes this young man who has been brought into his house as a servant. But yet, Potiphar evidently sees something in this young man. His character, his demeanor, the way he handles himself. And he begins to get the understanding that this is a young man who has great potential. And so he begins to give him responsibilities. And in every case, Joseph handled the responsibility in a really miraculous, marvelous way. And as time progressed, then Potiphar kept giving him more responsibility, more authority. And as this thing evolved, it finally came to the place where Pharaoh or Potiphar just kind of went off and left everything in Joseph's hand. And it says that he got to the place where he didn't even know what he owned. He said the only thing he knew was the bread in which he ate. All the responsibility was given to a man who at one time had been a total stranger to him. This is really quite extraordinary. This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.